It was a grand restaurant, filled with golden lights and soft music, where rich people smiled loudly but rarely meant a single word they said. At the center, a quiet waitress moved with calm focus, her eyes tired but kind, hiding years of struggle behind a trained, respectful smile. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. She carried plates with steady hands, knowing one mistake could cost her job because this place didn't forgive those who had nothing. At one table sat a powerful couple, the billionaire and his wife, dressed in luxury, their presence heavy enough to silence nearby whispers. The wife looked around with sharp judgment, her eyes scanning every detail, as if the world existed only to meet her impossible standards. The husband stayed quiet, watching everything carefully, his face calm but observant, like someone who understood more than he showed. As the waitress approached their table, her heart beat slightly faster, sensing tension without knowing the storm waiting ahead. She greeted them politely, placing their dishes gently, her voice soft and respectful, hoping for nothing more than a simple, peaceful shift. But the wife's expression instantly twisted, her lips tightening as she noticed something small, something most people wouldn't even care about. In that moment, the air changed completely, as if the entire room unknowingly prepared for something uncomfortable, something deeply unfair. And the waitress stood there, unaware that this single moment would soon change not just her life, but everyone watching in silence. The wife suddenly slammed her fork on the table, her sharp voice cutting through the calm air, drawing every eye in the restaurant toward them. She pointed at the plate with disgust, accusing the waitress of carelessness, as if a tiny flaw was a crime that deserved public humiliation. Her words grew louder, harsher, each sentence filled with pride and anger, making sure everyone heard how unacceptable this service was. The waitress stood still, her fingers tightening slightly, but her face remained calm, trained to absorb disrespect without reacting at all. The husband watched quietly, his eyes shifting between his wife and the waitress, sensing something deeper than just a complaint unfolding here. The wife leaned forward, her tone now personal, mocking the waitress's appearance and background as if kindness had no place in her world. A silence spread across nearby tables, people pretending to eat, but their attention fully locked on the painful scene happening in front. The waitress lowered her gaze for a moment, not in shame, but as if holding back something powerful that she wasn't ready to reveal yet. The wife mistook that silence for weakness, her confidence growing, believing she had complete control over this humiliating situation. She demanded the manager loudly, threatening consequences, her voice echoing like authority, as if money gave her the right to break dignity. But the waitress slowly lifted her head again, her expression now different, not hurt, not afraid, but quietly firm in a way no one expected. And in that silent shift, something changed. Something strong began to rise within her, something that would soon stop everyone cold. The waitress took a slow breath, her hands no longer shaking, her posture straightening, as if years of silence had finally reached their limit. She looked directly at the wife, not with anger, but with a calm strength that made the woman pause for a brief, unexpected second. The room grew quieter, forks stopped moving, conversations faded, as everyone sensed that this moment was no longer ordinary. The wife smirked again, assuming the waitress would apologize, expecting submission like always, her pride refusing to imagine any other outcome. But instead, the waitress gently placed something on the table, a paper that didn't belong to the restaurant, yet carried heavy meaning. The husband leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing with curiosity, noticing the seriousness in the waitress's actions and controlled expression. The wife glanced down with irritation, ready to dismiss it, but something about the document made her confidence flicker just a little. The waitress spoke softly, her voice steady and clear, no longer defensive, but carrying a quiet authority that demanded attention. She didn't raise her tone, didn't insult back, yet every word she said carried more weight than the wife's loud accusations ever could. The surrounding guests leaned closer, drawn by the tension, sensing that something unexpected was about to be revealed right here. The husband's expression slowly changed, confusion turning into concern, as if he was beginning to understand what was unfolding. And the wife, for the first time, hesitated, realizing this moment was slipping out of her control in a way she never imagined. The wife's hand froze mid-air, her confidence cracking slightly as she stared at the document, now resting between her untouched plate and pride. Her eyes scanned the paper quickly, but the meaning didn't settle at first, as if her mind refused to accept what it was truly seeing. The husband leaned closer, his calm expression fading, replaced by a sudden seriousness that made the tension around the table even heavier. The waitress stood silently, no anger, no fear, just quiet control, as if she had already accepted whatever would happen next. The wife let out a short, nervous laugh, trying to dismiss it, calling it a joke, a mistake, something too absurd to be real. But the husband took the paper gently, reading every line slowly, his face tightening as the truth began to reveal itself clearly. His eyes lifted toward the waitress, now filled with a new respect, as if he was seeing her not as staff, but as something far more important. The wife's voice softened slightly, confusion replacing arrogance, her earlier sharp tone now struggling to hold the same power. Around them, whispers grew louder, guests sensing a shift, a reversal of control that no one expected just moments ago. The waitress finally spoke again, her words calm and precise, explaining just enough to make the situation impossible to ignore. She wasn't raising her voice, yet every sentence landed heavily, slowly dismantling the wife's pride, piece by piece, in front of everyone. And in that moment, the balance of power changed completely, leaving the wife standing where the waitress once silently endured. The husband placed the document down slowly, his hands no longer steady, as the truth behind those words began to settle deep inside him. He looked at his wife, not with anger yet, but with a heavy disappointment that spoke louder than any harsh reaction ever could. The wife avoided his eyes, her confidence slipping away, as the reality of her behavior started to reflect back at her painfully. The waitress remained composed, her silence now powerful, no longer the silence of fear, but of someone who had nothing left to prove. The husband finally spoke, his voice calm but firm, asking his wife to explain herself in front of everyone who had witnessed it all. The room fell completely silent again, every guest frozen, knowing this was no longer about service, but about dignity and truth. The wife tried to defend herself, her words weaker now, her tone uncertain, as if she no longer believed her own excuses.
You don't have to
She
turn around
blamed
like
the situation, the stress, anything she could grasp,
that. You don't have
but
to
each
see
word only made her sound smaller than before.
Just keep going.
The husband shook his head slowly, not accepting any of it, his disappointment growing with every failed attempt she made to justify it. He turned toward the waitress, his expression softening, acknowledging her strength and patience in a moment that could break anyone. The waitress simply nodded, her eyes calm, showing no pride, no revenge, just quiet acceptance of what had unfolded. And in that heavy silence, the wife realized something painful, that respect was never bought, and tonight she had truly lost it. The wife's shoulders slowly dropped, the weight of her actions finally settling in as the room's silence pressed harder than any words. Her eyes, once filled with pride, now searched for escape, but every glance reminded her that everyone had witnessed her fall. The husband stood up calmly, not in anger, but with a firm presence that made it clear this moment would not be ignored or forgotten. He asked her softly to apologize, not for the scene, but for the dignity she tried to take from someone who had done nothing wrong. The wife hesitated, her lips parted, but no words coming out, as if pride and regret were fighting inside her at the same time. The waitress remained still, her expression unchanged, not expecting anything, not demanding anything, just waiting quietly. A few seconds felt like forever, the entire restaurant holding its breath, watching whether the wife would accept her mistake. Finally, her voice came out, low and broken, the confidence gone, replaced by a sincerity that didn't exist just moments before. She apologized, not loudly, not perfectly, but enough to show she understood the damage she had caused in her careless moment. The husband nodded slightly, acknowledging the effort, but his face still carried the seriousness of someone who expected better. The waitress gave a small nod in return, accepting the apology without pride, without revenge, just quiet grace in her response. And in that simple exchange, something shifted deeply, turning a moment of humiliation into a lesson no one there would forget. The restaurant slowly returned to motion, but something had changed deeply, as if everyone present had silently learned a lesson. The wife sat quietly now, her eyes lowered, replaying her words again and again, feeling the weight of each careless sentence. The husband remained standing for a moment, then sat back down, his silence now heavier than before, filled with reflection. The waitress turned to leave, her steps calm and steady, not rushing, not looking back, as if she had already moved past it all. But the husband called her softly, his voice respectful now, stopping her not as staff, but as someone he genuinely valued. She paused and turned, her expression unchanged, waiting patiently, not expecting anything, but ready to listen with quiet dignity. He thanked her sincerely, not just for her service, but for her strength, for showing grace in a moment where many would break. The wife slowly lifted her eyes, hearing those words, realizing respect was being given where she had tried to take it away. Her lips parted again, this time without hesitation, offering a clearer apology, one that came from understanding, not pressure. The waitress accepted it gently, her response simple, showing that forgiveness doesn't need long speeches, only honest intention. Around them, people exchanged silent looks, some nodding slightly, as if witnessing something rare, something real and human. And as the moment settled, it became clear that true power was never in wealth, but in how a person treats those with less. The dinner ended quietly, but the silence carried meaning, as if something invisible had shifted inside every person who witnessed it. The wife walked out slowly beside her husband, her steps no longer confident, but thoughtful, as if each step carried a lesson. She glanced once at the waitress, not with pride this time, but with a quiet respect she had never shown before in her life. The husband noticed that small change, saying nothing, but knowing that sometimes silence teaches more than any lecture ever could. Inside, the waitress returned to her work, her routine unchanged. Yet something within her felt lighter, stronger than before. She didn't tell anyone her story, didn't explain the document, because she never needed validation to know her own worth. The guests slowly resumed their conversations, but their tone had softened, their laughter now carrying a different kind of awareness. That night stayed with many of them, not as gossip, but as a reminder that dignity can never be measured by money or status. The wife, in her quiet reflection, finally understood that respect is earned through kindness, not demanded through power or wealth. And the husband, watching it all unfold, knew this moment had changed more than just one evening. It had changed a mindset. The waitress continued her life as before, but now with a silent strength, knowing she faced disrespect and still chose grace. The story ends here, but the mystery lives on. Like, subscribe, and return for the next unforgettable journey.